Well, welcome to the channel. I'm going to do a quick review of Skeleton Crew, which is a new Star Wars property that has dropped on Disney's Plus's streaming service. Um, they've dropped the first two episodes. I've watched them, and yeah, they're not too bad. I thought they were okay. Much better than The Acolyte, which was the last one that was released. They definitely are targeted at a younger audience. I think Disney wants two things. One, to try to bring a younger audience into the Star Wars universe. A lot of kids nowadays were not even born when the first Star Wars movie came out, and maybe haven't been as enamored with it as Disney wants. And the other thing I think Disney wants to do is sell a lot of shit. So there's lots of opportunities with aliens and robots and ships and stuff where they can sell it to the kids. I wouldn't be surprised if they take properties from this series and add them to their Galactic End Star Wars themed amusement park, which hasn't been necessarily doing too well. So the good thing about this show, the one that gave me a bit of, um, I don't know, I felt better about when I saw it, announced, but John Watts is the individual that's in charge of this show. He's the director and he's written some of the episodes. You might not know who he is, but he directed all three of the Spider Man films, the ones containing or having Tom Holland in them, the most recent ones. And he wrote the very first one, Homecoming, and co wrote or wrote parts of or contributed to the writing of the other two. I liked those movies. I thought they were really good. So when I saw that he was being brought in for this show, I thought, I'll give it a whirl. Um, Disney has been handing the reins to some of their Marvel and Star Wars properties to people who either have an agenda that they'd rather tell their story than actually Star Wars, and they don't really care if they stick to sort of the established rules for the Star Wars universe. They're just there to push their agenda, kind of thing. Um, the Mandalorian, the first two seasons were really good because Jon Favreau cared about him and was in charge and was heavily involved. Well, in the third series, which is the one that sucked of the Mandalorian, he wasn't really involved as much anymore. So, again, you bring good people in, you give them leeway to run the story. You get people who seem to care about what they're talking about, but don't feel that they have to tell their whole life story rather than telling really the story that has been handed to them. So one point in the show is it's got somebody good at the helm. Now it's only been two episodes, so I don't know. Maybe I'll regret these words, but yeah, I was pleased to see who they put in charge. Um, the cast so far has been relatively good. Um, it is, like I said, oriented towards a younger audience, so then the main cast is going to be younger. And I have a bit of a personal bias against child actors because most of them cannot act, or their whole thing is just overreaction to everything. So far they're pretty good, but they are kind of very much standard formula characters. So we have the guy on the left that's looking down at his pad. He's the dreamer, the gut person that's interested in the Jedi and fantasy and stuff like that. He doesn't really want to be in the very tightly controlled environment of the planet that they're on. On the So that's on the left facing us, on our right looking at the screen. And then on the left, the girl in the jacket, she's the rebel. She's comes from a family of some people who are very rigid and whatever, and so she has to prove that she's in charge, and she just gives, um, again, you can tell it's sort of a kids oriented because all she does is give people lip, and if it was, if it was real world, well, it's not real world, but you get the crap kicked out of her if she did that anyplace else. But on TV, she can do that. So again, that's her function is to do that in the show, and that's why she's there. They have another friend for the curly-haired guy. He's an alien, but his job is to be frightened of everything and always wanting to go home and to not get into trouble and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of standard fare for kids programming, and that's what that character does. And then the final, there's an Asian girl, and she's the tech genius, apparently, because she can just do stuff without what you would think any kind of training in anything else. But you can tell she's a tech genius because she wears a visor that flips down in front of her face, except for when she has to look at anything, then it flips up. So I'm often not sure why she even bothers to. It's not like Geordie LaForge. She doesn't need to see through it. She can see quite fine. But anyways, so all in all, I don't have a problem with the cast. They're child actors and they're doing about what I would expect. Um, Writing of the parents is pretty standard. It's they just are there as background. This curly-haired guy's father is super interested in his job and not too interested in his son, which would play to a younger audience. He's all he cares about is work or whatever, even when his son misses a test, vital test that you have to write to determine your future on this planet. He gets a second chance for his son, but then doesn't hang around to make sure he studies for it. He's too busy for work. It's too important. Blah blah blah. So yeah, that's kind of it. Again, they were entertaining. I didn't mind watching them. I think I'll continue to watch the episodes. It does kind of, I think, tie into the larger Star Wars universe. Although in the initial scroll that you see, that's like you see the Starfield on every Star Wars movie, and then the text comes across the screen telling you what's going on, and they mention pirates, which would appeal to kids, but it's been minor in some of the other shows, but pirates is going to be the big thing for this show. So you see at the start a attack on a ship by the pirates. The dumb thing is that they fire these tunnels into the side of the ship they're attacking, and all the pirates come running down the tunnels to board the ship, which would say, well, somebody with a good gun could pick them off coming down the tunnels, which they do a little bit, but eventually the pirates overtake the ship. They break into the vault. There's only a single credit there, a little tiny coin. So they basically take the current captain and do a mutiny. So you can kind of tell that that character is Jude Law, who is supposed to be or maybe is the Jedi in the rest of the series. But anyways, they bump into him in prison later on. Um, so the rest of the first episode is basically introducing the characters, introducing the environment, and finding what you see on the screen now. This is a door to the spaceship, and of course the tech kid with the visor can open the door of the spaceship, and the spaceship's been buried underground, but of course it is totally functional and is able to fly away and do hyperspace. On the ship is a robot which talks like a pirate and talks about Captain. And of course, the young girl just sasses the robot and convinces it that she's the captain of the ship. And the robot thinks that she's a pirate because he's a pirate. So, okay. But, anyways, the ship takes off and goes into hyperspace, and they are away. They have no idea where they are when it comes out of hyperspace. They just push the odd button, which is about all they do, and it stops going through hyperspace. So they talk to the robot, and it's going to take them someplace where they maybe can get some help to get back home. They the robot has no idea where their home is. Just they keeps pointing at the stars and say, "Well, which one is your home?" And that's the thing about the planet they're on. Apparently, it's got some kind of shield or cloud or whatever that to hide it. Because when they get to this, in the second episode, they get to this pirate colony. Again, lots of pirates. Um, when they say where they're from, people either laugh and don't believe them, or have never heard of it. So they do refer to it as the treasure planet. So that's kind of, I guess, where the story's going, that the pirates will try to get back to their planet and loot it for whatever the treasure is. It's never mentioned at this point. But they get to the planet. Um, they just assume everybody's going to speak in a language that they can understand. There's all kinds of critters and robots and stuff for Disney to try to sell to kids. Um, and they run into some of the pirates that were in the opening scene where they attacked the ship. So they get thrown in jail, and that's when they run into Jude Law's character, which at the end of the episode they think that he's Jedi. Now, whether he's really Jedi or not is, I don't know. So there was Jawas, so that's sort of some of the um, Star Wars properties that are in this. Uh, Basically, the kids are running away, and of course, they're kids, but no adult can actually catch them when they run. Um, so, um, in general, it's relatively good, relatively well done. It is targeted at a younger audience, so then the humor and stuff is more towards what a younger audience would appreciate. And the first two episodes are pretty good. Some of the scenes you're seeing now are from some of the later episodes, which have not aired yet. But it is definitely set in the Star Wars universe, and they're going forward from there. So I would say, yeah, give it a shot if you have a Disney Plus account, and see what you think. But so far, it's been good enough that I'm going to continue to follow it. Like I said, the things that I liked was the guy that's in charge. The actors are okay, except for how the parents are written is sort of uncaring, unfeeling. The kids are kid actors, which is okay. I can live with that. And I'll be watching further episodes. Okay, thanks.